What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Prop Wiz. I'm your host, Wiz. Today, where I've been promising for about a month or so, we're gonna finally get to this bad boy right here. This is a 3D printed Batwing from the 1989 film Batman, belovedly called Batman 89 or the Michael Keaton Batman. I know you guys are probably out there looking at this thinking that it's done or almost done. It is not. Everything has been dry fitted. Nothing has been glued together. Some of these pieces I still got to go through and sand it to make sure it fits. There's a lot of gaps in here. There's a lot wrong with it, but it's very, very promising that as of right now, it looks dope and it's not nowhere near finished. Woo-hoo, can't wait. Now, I don't know what the exact scale of this bad boy is. I was inspired by the 1/6 scale that Jazz Dioramas is selling. I want to say the price of that thing was $2,500, at least when he first started doing it. Man, really was just out of the price range. Plus the fact I don't really have enough room to display something that big, at least not in a way that I'm comfortable with. This thing right here, being that I 3D printed it, I can put it on the wall or somewhere. If it falls, my feelings would be hurt for a little while, but it'll be something that I can reprint. I won't be out of $2,500. Or maybe I can sell it. Just playing Warner Brothers. Don't sue me. Not selling it. Since I don't know the scale of this bad boy, I figured we at least measure it and see how big this bad boy is. This thing is about 41.5 inches wide. That's the wingspan. And the length is about 34 inches long. And I guess if we were to go by the height is about 9.5 to 10 inches. So not bad. Dude, it's a good size, man. So this is one of them things where, again, it's definitely probably not 1/6 scale, but I think it's big enough to fake it. Like if I was to display it with the 1/6 scale Batmobile somewhere around it, I think it's close enough that most people would think that it's the appropriate size. But with it being smaller, there's no displaying figures in this, but I'm gonna be honest with you, there's no scenario for me where I display those, $200-300 6 scale figure inside of one of these things. If I had more than one figure, maybe. And I do have a Batman on pre-order, so I will have two 1989 Batmans, but I don't know. I just ain't the kind of person to sit something in the vehicle. Maybe have them displayed on the outside standing up or something, but yeah, we'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But anyway, we're just doing the intro here in my man cave. We still got a lot of work to do on this thing. I've already started sanding. You see all that whiteness on there? That's where I went and sanded the bare plastic, but I still got to go over this thing sanding. We'll hit it with some sandable primer, probably hit it with some spot putty. Like this is one thing that even though it's going to be weathered, there's going to be a little bit of weathering here. For the most part, we want this thing as smooth as possible. We want it to look like an airplane. And right along the lines with the airplane parts, I think we're going to hit it with a gunmetal gray versus a black. So again, that's just something different that I've seen because I've seen people build the little plastic models and kind of painted it black and kind of hit the cracks and stuff with the gray, where the actual model looked like it's the opposite of that. That's what we're going to be emulating. But again, most of the work is going to be in the garage. So I'm going to be dismantling in this bad boy. So when you see me in the garage, this thing is going to be in pieces. I'm going to sand it down in pieces on top of the sanding process and the prep process. I'm gonna actually show you guys, what I do to glue this stuff together too. Yeah, let's get to it. Let's go. Yo, let's talk about it. Walk around this bitch like you the shit, and you really bout it. Look at you, really doubt it. Really, cause you the foulest. My sound is just but my music, not why I'm the proudest. You can see my seeds, they breathe life until they dreams believe we all be above the clouds. It's us floating above it, like it, I love it. Protect the family function, without them I'm nothing, I love them. If words could express how important it is, every single breath that I breathe, the reason I exist. Picture this, that time Bill Bixby, he couldn't lift that truck, turned into Hulk, represent Wiz and his love for his kids. Already said it, but the reason I live with third person worded, so I repeat it again. All right, what's up, everybody? We just made it back from out of the garage. Look, I'm gonna be straight up honest with you. That was 3 months ago. That was back in April when I went to the garage. I'm just now finishing. No, sanding is not a 3-month job, but I got lazy, y'all. This was the hardest thing that I've ever sanded, to be honest with you, primarily because of the level of detail that's on this thing. A lot of the things that I've already sanded have been huge, smooth surfaces. You got a large, smooth surfaces, or the item is so small you can hold it in your hand and sand. Whereas in this, in big pieces, just was impossible. So I kind of broke it down into like 3 sections of sanding, which was taking it apart, sanding it down in smaller pieces, gluing some pieces together, sanding it again, and then gluing the whole thing together and sanding everything all together. On top of that, of course, I had the normal stages of sanding, which was sanding the raw plastic, just trying to get the plastic itself as smooth as I could. Then I applied a sandable primer, sanded it down real good. And then I went and added spot putty, like a small layer of spot putty on top of that, sanded that all down. Then again, added the sandable primer. And that time I sanded that down, wet sanded that to get everything as smooth as I possibly could. In fact, to be honest with you, I added another layer of sandable primer after that. I sure did. Usually I use a gray sandable primer. It's just real easy for me to see if there's any mistakes. Then after that, I hit it with a black sandable primer. Now that was the hard part. Again, not something that should have took 3 months, but it did take a while. That was probably a good 2 days of just sanding it and going back and fixing little details, which brings us to the painting process, which was a little bit easier. I decided to go with a gunmetal gray. I actually used one of the paint guns, like a paint gun that you would use to spray down or paint a car. The airbrush that I got, I actually got a couple of them, but the one that I like to use, it never fails on me, always works great, is used to spray paint or airbrush details, fine details. So yes, I could airbrush this whole thing with it, but it would take forever. To me, it was a lot easier to get that paint gun working, and that's what I did. Hit the whole thing with the gunmetal gray. Then I brought it back into the house for the airbrushing process, which was airbrushing it with a translucent black, just hitting some of the lines. In fact, not even some of the lines. Every single line on this I hit with that transparent black. Looking at pictures of the actual Batwing, it seemed like that was pretty consistent. There's a couple of little spots that I hit in the corners and stuff like that to kind of give it dimension that I don't think is in the real Batwing, but to me it just made it look cooler, made it look realistic, and just got that look. Like I remember seeing the movie back in the 80s, 89, and of course you got the sense that the Batwing is black. It looked black. So hitting it with that translucent black on those corners, just from a far away, it still gives it that look like everything is black, like it's a black Batwing and not the gunmetal gray. And of course, anytime you're dealing with miniatures, that kind of thing just adds more detail, makes it look a little bit larger than life, makes it look real. Now the Gatling guns that come out, pretty much the same process, sandable primer, black primer, and then I just dry brushed some metal streaks, some silver on there, and then I added just a little bit of gold in some of the railings on the Gatling gun, just to give it this dirty, worn look. So again, just added a lot of detail. I didn't hit it with the gunmetal gray, which is crazy, right? Because it is a gun, but the weathering that I did to it did give it this grayish look, and it looks different than the gunmetal gray of the actual Batwing itself. So it stands out from the rest of the Batwing, but at the same time, it matches the overall scheme, which is cool. What else we got? Same thing with the guns on the side, the little machine guns. Again, hit that with the black, dry brushed it with the silver. Looks dope to me. Okay, the cockpit itself, I'm not sure if I talked about the printing of that in the earlier video. It was so long ago, but I actually used a resin printer to print this. I have done translucent prints before. It didn't do a very good job. Like, it wasn't see-through at all. I did learn through that process that I had to sand it. So this is the first time I did this. It's not the crystal clear glass that you see on some of the models that I've seen out, or even the movie probably. But to me, I knew I wasn't going to be putting a figure in there. It's see-through. You can kind of see the dials. You can definitely see there's something in there. You can see through it. But at the same time, there's a cloudiness of it. I thought about going and reprint it, sanding it out, but man, I thought it was cool. The rest of the Batwing got this weathered look. You got streaks on it that was on the original model. So I thought that this kind of look fit this even more. So just my preference, just one of those things that I thought it was a little bit of a departure from the actual movie model, but not enough to make it feel like it's completely inaccurate. Had ideas for this thing, man. So, and talking about that, one of the craziest details in the model that I had never noticed growing up, didn't notice until recently when they recently pulled out the actual Batwing, one of the screen used Batwings from the movie, was you got these little decals that's all over the Batwing that was painted on. So it's, again, giving it that model, that almost military industrial look where you got little symbols and shapes and stuff that was painted on there. Real hard to find references directly from the model. You can see it, but it's hard to gauge how big or how small some of those details were because you're getting it out of these old photos. But I think what I did was pretty close. And again, it's just one of those things that just gives it a high level of detail. Like, this is something that's functional, that's actually could work in the real world. I did glue in the flaps. So I got these little flaps They're not workable. I decided that this thing is gonna be sitting somewhere. I really don't want nobody messing with it. I don't plan on messing with it. So I went ahead and glued these things the way that I wanted them. They're open, they're out. The Gatling guns aren't glued in yet. They're static, they're stuck in there pretty good, but I'll probably go back and just hit it with a little dab of super glue. The same thing, I plan on keeping these open. There's no reason to close it, man. I worked hard on them Gatling guns. I want them to be seen. The cockpit does open. I did paint the inside. Again, glass is slightly cloudy. You're not gonna see a lot of it, so we're gonna keep that closed. Anyways, man, y'all, I think that's pretty much it. Absolutely glad I got it and printed it and worked on it. Again, this is something that I've wanted ever since I've seen it on the big screen back in 1989. Was never able to get my hands on one of the little models, and to be honest with you, I thought those little models were too small anyway. And there's probably a 90 to 95% chance that this is too big. But that's it for this video, the 3D printed 1989 Batwing. Leave me some comments, y'all. How many of you guys own this? How many of you guys downloaded, printed one of these things? Were you one of the lucky ones that was able to buy one of the things that they were selling? Let me know, man. Let me know you guys' thoughts. If you liked the video, please hit that like button. If you haven't already, please subscribe. As always, I love you guys to death. I'll check you out next time.
Yeah. We on some peace, guys, on the peak of a mountain. How can you think about it and even believe you doubt us? Really, I see you trying to eat without us. See there be no achievement, unbelievable feast without us. Deep sound to keep the speakers bound and feel the beats around us. The fellas be trying to keep us down deep in this creek to drown us. Leaps and bounds when I hit the ground with progress. Some tests, but I bet they say my name with respect when they speak about us. You be devoted and still be devoured. Your wifey, oh yes, I was there when she was deflowered. Peace and power don't mix, but that's why I stick to war flicks and get pissed whenever they try to get a piece of ours. So each hour I keep training to reach levels unseen since Super Saiyan 3 in Okinawa. Japan, the motherland of ours. Wowzers, go gadget, damage you cowards. Hit planets like meteor showers. I'm back with the rapidy rap shit.